Artemis Racing, Road to Bermuda in association with Ulysse Nardin.
America's Cup is one of the world's most prestigious and historic races of all times, where the best and most talented sailors are pitted against each other in extreme flying catamarans that reach speeds up to 50 knots. And now, Swedish Artemis Racing has just one goal: to seize history's oldest sporting trophy, the Old Mug. On board Artemis Racing is a total of 5 Olympic gold medalists in an international crew of sailors from Sweden, Denmark, England, and Australia.
After the first event in the UK in Portsmouth, we now moved on to Gothenburg, Sweden for the second round of Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series. And to help you understand just how extreme and fast these flying catamarans are, we decided to conduct an experiment ahead of the official racing. We wanted to find out how Artemis Racing's AC-45 would get on against the conventional monohull skippered by famous America's Cup sailor Pelle Petterson.
The boats that we're sailing are the front of the sport. You know, they're pushing the technology, they're trying to go faster all the time, and you compare what we're racing in the America's Cup now to any other boat, it's just in another league for sure.
Det är väldigt imponerande att se de här nya flytetygen. Det är klart, själv är jag väl kanske lite åt det konservativa hållet. Jag tycker nästan utvecklingen har gått nästan för långt och lite för snabbt. Men visst är det helt fantastiskt att se dem.
If we were to let Nathan Outteridge and Pelle Petterson sail a distance of 6.5 nautical miles in the prevailing weather conditions with wind gusts of between 13 and 22 miles per hour and an average speed of about 7 knots, Pelle Petterson will need about 45 minutes to cover the distance. This means that Nathan Outteridge and his crew aboard the flying AC-45 with top speeds of 40 knots can give Pelle Petterson a lead of 30 minutes and still catch up.
All right, boys, let's go chase them down.
Well, all I know is that they'll have plenty of time to sit and watch because they'll see us coming from a mile away.
Pelle Petterson is 83 years old and synonymous with Swedish sailing. And he was the first Swede to challenge for the America's Cup back in 1977.
Då var det helt andra regler som gällde. Framförallt var det den nationalitetsgrejerna som sa det att båten måste vara konstruerad, den måste vara byggd, den måste vara bemannad av enbart svenskar, som gjorde att det är en oändlig skillnad där mot vad det är idag. Och det var ett litet handikapp för oss. Men ändå klarade vi oss så hyggligt så vi gick till utmanarfinal mot Australien 1977.
But we are in a new era of the America's Cup, and with the boats side by side, the difference is clear to see.
Vi seglade på så gott vi kunde och gjorde vårt bästa faktiskt, kanske mellan 7-8 knop. Men de, enligt min uppfattning, gick nog dubbelt så fort. Jag skulle tippa omkring 14-15 knop på kryssen alltså. Sen så fort de slackar av så rusade det iväg 20 och 30 knop med de där rackarna. Så att, ja, det är otroligt att se dem.
Prior to the races here in Gothenburg, Artemis Racing announced 2 new Swedish team members. Firstly, Kalle Thulén, who has competed for Sweden in the 49er at the Beijing Olympics in 2008. And secondly, a guy who has world and European titles to his name, who has competed in 4 Olympic Games, and in London 2012 he finished 5th, just seconds away from a medal. But these were all achieved in a completely different sport.
Jag hade avslutat min kanotkarriär och hade jobbat 2 år i Australien som coach för deras landslag, och jag kände att jag var väldigt nöjd med allt jag hade gjort inom kanotsporten. Vunnit VM, vunnit EM, vunnit totala världscupen och varit med på 4 OS. Jag ville komma närmare Sverige, jag ville tävla på högsta nivå, och jag kände att jag kunde utnyttja träningen jag gjort i kanot och så funderade jag på om det kanske kunde gå att föra över till segling. Jag har seglat när jag var liten. Mina föräldrar var båda seglare, det var så de träffades. Jag minns att jag byggde en optimistjolle med pappa i garaget, och vi var på kusten varje sommar när jag var liten. Men jag brukar säga att min segelvana är väl lika viktig eller lika hjälpsam som om en busschaufför vill börja köra Formel 1-bil. Så att jag vet var grejerna sitter, men mycket mer är det inte.
So why would a canoeist without any professional sailing experience be aboard one of the most extreme sailing boats ever made? Well, the explanation is quite simple. Today's America's Cup catamarans require athletes with incredible power and endurance to power their hydraulic systems. Grinders need strong arms and upper body strength, similar physical to those of a kayaker.
Jag har ju tävlat i svenska landslaget i kanot i 14 år och funderat bara på hur jag ska förbättra min fysiska kapacitet. Jag har funderat mycket på hur man tävlar bäst, hur man kommer i bäst form och hur man blir så fysiskt stark och uthållig och explosiv som möjligt. Seglarna har ju funderat mycket mer på hur man får just deras segelbåt att gå så fort som möjligt. Så om jag kan blanda in mitt fystänk och dela med mig av det till seglarna samt prestera bra på vinscharna, så tror jag det är en vinnande kombination för Artemis.
It will probably still take some time before we see Anders Gustafsson on board Artemis Racing in competitions. But between workouts, he receives intensive training in how the boat works. And for one of Sweden's top canoeists, it is a new, exciting journey that now takes its beginning.
Det betyder mycket för mig att jag får en chans att ge mitt allt igen. Jag kände att jag gillar den här kopplingen som idrotten har, som jag inte har sett på många andra ställen, att det är en direkt relation mellan hur hårt du jobbar, vad du stoppar in, och du får en direkt koppling ut i andra änden. Det är helt fantastiskt. Och jag gillar när det är lite svårt, och det här kommer bli riktigt svårt, så jag ser fram emot utmaningen.
Artemis Racing had a tough opening weekend in Portsmouth, and preparations for the race at home in Gothenburg could have been better. In training the day before the first race, the team capsized. No one was injured, but the wing was damaged. It became a race against time, but thankfully the shore crew worked tirelessly overnight, making the necessary repairs to get the boat back out on the water ahead of the first race.
There's the gun, all clear here for race number 1 in Gothenburg.
Artemis Racing got away well in race 1 and held second place from the start. But on the fourth leg, Artemis chose other side of the course, trying to catch the leader Oracle Team USA. And lost 2 places to Land Rover Bar and Emirates Team New Zealand.
So it is straight into the finish for Oracle Team USA, and they'll take race number 1.
Artemis finished 4th, but their problems continued when the team ran aground shortly after the finish, with both the rudder and foil damaged, which forced the team to take the boat out of the water once again.
We didn't realise it was going to be 2 boat lengths from the finishing line was underwater rocks. Went through the line, basically came away to slow down, and before we knew it, we were just straight aground, damaged our foil. It's a pretty silly spot to have a finishing line. You don't expect to go through a finishing line and within 5 seconds have to turn up to avoid the bottoms. That's probably why you saw us quite disappointed.
Five of the 6 teams are off on the line at the start of race number 2.
Despite the good start in the second race, the damage to the foil caused the team to drop back through the fleet into 6th position. Oracle Team USA took command, following up their first win with another in race 2. Skipper Jimmy Spittle managing to master the tricky conditions, winning convincingly.
Race number 1 belonged to Oracle Team USA, and race number 2 does as well.
Second across the finish line was Land Rover Bar with Ben Ainsley at the helm, and third, Emirates Team New Zealand.
Artemis Racing, Road to Bermuda in association with Ulysse, Nardin.
Anders Gustafsson's change from being one of the world's best sprint canoeists to a grinder on board Artemis Racing is just the latest in a series of examples where the America's Cup teams have recruited from other sports. And over the last few decades, the sport of sailing, and not least the sailors, has undergone a huge transformation. To be able to drive a boat is no longer enough. Now, the sailors on board these modern flying catamarans has to be exceptional athletes.
You know, you won't see many gin and tonics on an America's Cup boat. We train 6 days a week, and on half of those days we try to get a second gym session in. So, you know, two sessions one day, 1 session the next day, on top of the sailing.
On board Artemis Racing's AC45 Turbo, a platform for the team to test their design ideas ahead of the America's Cup in 2017. There aren't many ropes or standard winches. Instead, the systems are driven by hydraulics and electronics, which require energy. And that energy must be generated on board by the sailors themselves.
You're not allowed to have batteries, not allowed to have a generator. Everything has to come from the horsepower of the guys. And the more power they can create, either short term or long term over a period of time, the greater the power, the better you trim your boat, you can play your boat, make your boat go faster.
So one, we'll do a quick lesson with everyone.
Chris Brittle is 2 meters tall, weighing 110 kilo and has physical properties that few athletes match, regardless of sport. Perhaps not your stereotypical image of a sailor, but perfect for his role as a grinder on the flying catamaran, since it is the job of the grinders to make sure there is enough energy in the systems to drive the hydraulics.
Well, the physical requirements in this America's Cup is changing slightly. It's going towards the more aerobic side of grinding, I'd say, because of the new accumulators and more hydraulics. Physical training, we can't do enough, basically. It's tough. You've got to be as strong as you can and as fit as you can, and now as light as we can.
2, 1, nice.
I've been working with athletes for over 20 years now, and Chris is a little bit of a freak. You don't come across many like Chris. Of course, you can find guys who've got the same aerobic fitness as Chris, but on top of that, he has one heck of a, of a power of a sprint. So, his 10-second sprint times, he's averaging 1,500, 1,600 watts for 10 seconds with his arms, which a lot of people wouldn't reach with their lower body. He's a phenomenal athlete, Chris.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, where you go.
With sailors in America's Cup having to train harder than ever before, the teams have begun to recruit athletes from other sports that possess the right physical attributes. Swedish canoeist Anders Gustafsson is the latest recruit by Artemis Racing, and the team's sports physiologist Pete Cunningham is convinced that we will see more.
So we've trawled through some of the Olympic sports where we think the athletes might have the same physical sort of attributes that we're looking for. Kayaking's one, rowing's one. We looked at judo, and ideally we're looking for Swedes.
The starting gun has sounded. Oracle Team USA, a beautiful start to the left-hand end of the line.
And Artemis down to the right-hand end of the line, pulled the trigger really well. Sure enough, the big sails are out. That means it's really light air.
After a difficult start, Artemis Racing needed to put in a good performance in race 3. And the team made a great start, taking the lead into Mark 1.
Artemis Racing doing just what they had to do after such a horrible day yesterday. The local crowd will be happy with that.
I'm really happy for these guys. Coming out of the blocks, there's for sure pressure on these guys to perform today. Let's keep it up, though. Early stages here, Tucker.
But Artemis Racing's tactician Ian Percy had an eye on the light winds, calling every shift.
Obviously, Sweden has figured this one out a little bit better than everybody else. Here's Ian Percy, tactician, constantly feeding back where the best pressure is. Obviously nailed it so far.
Artemis Racing sailed the perfect race, and the team extended to an unaccessible lead.
It is a completely different Artemis Racing today, and they will put the bow down to cross the line victorious here in race number 3.
Good for them.
We had a really good start out of the race, and from there just kept it simple and got a really good puff. But as I've been saying all week, everyone has been really positive. We've improved a lot since Portsmouth.
Dead even start for all 6 teams. We're off in the final race of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series, Gothenburg.
Artemis Racing and Oracle Team USA had a fight at the start of the 4th and final race, with the American boat gaining the advantage.
And look at Artemis. That is, after that first race, that is not the start they wanted.
Yeah, it shows how hard it is out here, Tucker. This is 6 of the best guys in the world. You can be a hero one minute and a goat the next. This is just really difficult sailing.
After another good start, a crew error meant that Artemis Racing was unable to accelerate, and they ended up hopelessly at the back of the fleet at Mark 1. However, Emirates Team New Zealand sailed a perfect race to take the overall victory.
Emirates Team New Zealand have done what they came here to do. Winning the final race gives them the overall regatta win as well.
It's a happy crew.
So they should be.
In the next program, we'll take you to the beautiful islands of Bermuda, where the America's Cup will be decided in 2017. Artemis Racing and reigning champions Oracle Team USA have already established their bases and begun training and testing their new development AC45 turbo boats on the Great Sound. A move that they hope will give them an edge over the competition come 2017.
Artemis Racing, Road to Bermuda, in association with Ulysse, Nardin.